It's a true crime case that makes headlines across the country.
So you dismembered the body too?
Yeah.
Well, what did you do with the body parts?
They're in the house. I know, I forgot the head. I wanted the head.
What did you do with the head?
The head I put in that bucket, that black bucket.
Black bucket?
She said something that should have ended the interrogation right there. I love something so much that I kill it. Not a confession, a philosophy. 24 words that a Wisconsin jury would carry into a deliberation room less than a year later, and 24 words that explain almost nothing about what actually happened in a Green Bay basement on the night of February 22nd, 2022. Picture a black plastic bucket sitting at the base of a basement staircase, a folded blanket resting on top like someone was trying to keep something warm. That image is the entire case. Everything the prosecution built, every witness they called, every forensic report they read into the record. It all circles back to that bucket, because inside it was the head of 24-year-old Shad Therian, and the woman who put it there was already telling detectives she couldn't remember doing it, even as she described it in detail. That contradiction is the whole story. Before we go deeper into what the court record actually shows, make sure you're subscribed to this channel because we don't just cover the headline, we follow the paperwork. Taylor Shabus was not always Taylor Shabus. She was born Taylor Coronado in Chicago in 1997, and by the accounts of people who knew her growing up, nothing about her early life predicted a homicide case that would end with a medical examiner testifying about castration and evisceration in a public courtroom. Her mother died when she was 11. Her father, later convicted on unrelated child sexual assault charges and testifying from custody in a jumpsuit, described a daughter who unraveled slowly and then all at once, expelled from school, sent away to relatives, married at 22 to a man named Warren Shabot, a marriage that reportedly introduced her to methamphetamine and heroin. By 2021, court records show psychiatric hospitalizations, a suicide attempt, diagnoses of PTSD and bipolar disorder, and a criminal history that included assaulting a police officer while, by her own admission to that officer, high enough to walk into oncoming traffic. None of that is in dispute. What is in dispute, what an entire jury trial and a separate insanity phase were built around, is whether any of it explains what she did to Shad Therian. Shad was an old friend from high school. Family described him as gentle, easygoing, someone who struggled with his own addiction but was liked by nearly everyone who knew him. When Taylor's husband went back to prison on federal drug charges, she reconnected with Shad, and their relationship became less about friendship and more about shared drug use. On the night in question, the two of them used methamphetamine and injected a sedating antidepressant in the basement of Shad's mother's home. What Taylor later told investigators was that the two had engaged in erotic asphyxiation before, and that this time, with a metal chain around his neck, she didn't stop.
He was in the house?
Yes, at his house.
Okay. Can you tell me what happened?
It's a good question because I blacked out during that time.
Do you think the body is still there?
I don't see why not, unless it just up and moved, which it could have. I don't know.
Where do you think the body would be?
I was right there by the bed.
It's by the bed you did that?
Yeah, I was cuddling it by the bed.
You were what?
I was cuddling it by the bed.
Here is the moral refrain of this case.
In Taylor's own words, she's always had a dark, twisted philosophy when it comes to death.
I don't know. Like, this is the thing that I have, like, I've always had, you know, like, you ever love something so much that you kill it? Like, it happens to me. That's the feeling that I have. I love something so much that I kill it. Like, I cuddle it so much and then I kill it. That's what happens to me.
And it will come back twice more before we're done. She said she didn't want him to die. She said it to detectives directly. And yet, by her own account, she felt him lose his pulse and continued anyway. Shad's mother came home in the early hours of the morning and went down to the basement to check on her son. What she found there led to a 911 call so disturbing that dispatchers had to ask the caller to repeat herself.
I have no clue what's happening with my girl. Swears that she's found her severed head of her son in the basement.
Did you go down there?
And I went down. I can't tell what the I pardon my language. I'm kind of a little freaked out.
You're listening to the voice of Steve Hendricks, the boyfriend of Shad's mom, Tara.
You said you went down there, correct?
Yeah, and I lifted his hole, but I can't see very well, and I can't tell what the hell it is.
So there's something in the bucket.
There's something in the guy's bucket, man.
Do you think she's hallucinating, or do you think that...
I don't think so. I went down and there's something in the damn bucket. I don't know, man. She's a little freaked out and kind of freaking me out.
What's your girlfriend's last name?
Packing.
Can I talk to her?
Yes, you can.
Hello?
Hi, Tara. So can you tell me what's going on?
Are you positive my son's head is in a bucket, a young bucket in my basement?
What makes you think that?
Because I looked in the bucket.
What did you see?
Exactly what I told you.
Okay, where's the rest of the body at?
No idea.
Police arrived to a scene investigators would later describe under oath as one of the worst they'd encountered. A severed head inside a bucket, a mattress with dried blood, and no sign of the rest of Shad's body anywhere in the house. That absence is what turned this from a homicide into something far more disturbing. Where do you hide the rest of a person? That is the question that hung over the first 48 hours of this investigation, and it's the question that should make every viewer sit with the uncomfortable reality that the answer was sitting in plain sight the entire time, in a van parked outside Taylor's apartment, inside a slow cooker box. When officers located Taylor, they found a blood trail leading directly to her front door.
Hi, Taylor. How's it going? Officer Russell with the Green Bay Police Department. Just make sure you ain't got nothing on you here. With Taylor. Taylor, you have one more for you. You have one more for your wrist. Just put your hands behind your back quick. Do we have Adam 3 come up? Hey, cut something. Get up here. One. There's what they came back to.
She was arrested without incident and after being read her rights agreed to speak with detectives. What followed, according to the criminal complaint and testimony later read into the trial record, was not a woman evading responsibility. It was a woman describing, in fragmented and often disturbingly casual language, the killing and the dismemberment that followed it.
His dead body.
So you dismembered the body too?
Yeah.
Well, what did you do with the body parts?
Oh, they're in the house.
Somewhere?
They're like, yeah.
Basement, upstairs, downstairs?
Absolutely in the basement. I was gonna bring them with them. And then, I know I forgot the head. I wanted the head.
Did you bring anything with you?
Yeah, it's in the van.
What?
It's in the van. It's, what is it? I don't know, a foot maybe.
The what?
I think it's a foot.
A foot in the van?
A leg maybe. I don't know. I'm like, I'm gonna bring it all, and then I'm like, man, this is messy. So then I just left it. I got lazy.
Okay.
I got lazy, and that's what I did. So I'm like,
Okay. So there's going to be maybe a foot or a leg in the van. And then,
yeah.
what did you do with the head?
I forgot that was in the van, so, yeah.
What did you do with the head?
The head, I put it in that bucket, that black bucket.
Black bucket?
With the blanket on top.
Okay.
I should have it.
And then where'd you leave it?
Leave the head? The head's still in the bucket. It's right by the stairs. Well, you're gonna have fun trying to look for all the organs, but yeah, they're all dismembered.
But when did you start, cutting up his body?
I don't know, like almost right away. I was sucking and cutting at the same time.
We're not sure what prompts the outfit change, but the other detective in the room wants more details on what Taylor did to Shad's body.
Yeah.
But when you cut off at the elbows?
Yeah.
Okay, you cut both arms off at the elbows?
I would hope so. Because I was saying that dismemberment process I did was really messed up because I was nodding out. And then I was
admitting to cutting Shad's body apart while still under the influence of methamphetamine, admitting she'd lost track of which body part went where, admitting the process took hours. The medical examiner's autopsy findings, entered into the public court record, confirmed post-mortem mutilation consistent with her account, decapitation, transection of the torso, evisceration, and injuries. The examiner testified would have required a significant amount of time and repeated cutting
Shad's
motions.
autopsy.
It is my medical opinion that the cause of death of Shad Therian is strangulation, and that the manner of death is homicide.
Dr. Tranquita testifies to the gruesome physical evidence he observed during Shad's autopsy, like purple discoloration, burst blood vessels, and deep neck hemorrhages. The testimony is difficult to listen to, but prosecutors believe it's necessary for the jury to understand the full extent of what happened to Shad.
I just wanted to follow up on that particular last point. Doctor, you indicated in multiple areas where you saw evidence of strangulation. Did those same areas allow you to make some sort of determination or form an opinion as to the amount of force or the amount of time that force would have been applied to the neck?
Objection, speculative, speculation.
I think that's exactly what his professional role is.
Overruled.
This is a great deal of force. We're not talking about simply injuries to the superficial structures, for example, the skin. I have injuries to the very thick muscles on the sides of the neck. I have injuries to the soft tissues beneath this. I have injuries to all the soft tissues surrounding the neck, and I also have hemorrhage on the soft tissue on the anterior aspect of the cervical spine. This is hemorrhage deep through multiple layers of the neck, consistent with a great deal of force being applied and a great deal of injury.
Doctor, as we've heard, obviously there is a significant amount of mutilation to the body or disruption of the body in multiple different places. Can you describe how you are able to determine that those other cutting injuries to the portions of the body are post-mortem as opposed to causing the death of Shad?
In my examination, there was extensive post-mortem mutilation of the body. And I believe that this is post-mortem mutilation because there is no hemorrhage associated with these injuries. In other words, I have multiple sharp force trauma with multiple stab wounds, multiple punctures, multiple incised wounds of the skin, deep cuts within the muscles and tendons and soft tissue, deep cuts within the bone, but all of these cuts are non-hemorrhagic. In other words, there's no blood or bleeding associated with it. These are consistent with post-mortem mutilation. In other words, there's no circulation going on. There's very little blood actually still left within the vascular system. This is all consistent with the body being dismembered after death. It is my medical opinion that this would be quite a few hours. We have decapitation, we have dismemberment, we have transection of the torso. Subsequently, internally, the body has been eviscerated. In other words, we have entered inside the body through various cuts, both at the abdomen and between the ribs, where the victim's organs have been removed, largely one by one. We have castration of the decedent. The decedent has been castrated as well. We have cutting or sawing through chop mark injuries of the bones. It is my medical opinion that this would have taken quite a great deal of time.
She said, "I love something so much that I kill it." That's the second time. It's not an excuse a jury is required to accept, and it isn't one
Caleb
they
Saunders
did.
for the prosecution.
There's a lot of points in that interview where the defendant is telling you exactly what her intent was in this case, right? His face was turning purple, right? She describes that and how he's coughing up blood, and you know that's accurate, right? Because you heard Dr. Tranquita's testimony. And you saw those photographs. She's seeing that in person, and yet what does she say? I still didn't stop. No. She felt a heartbeat at one point, right? She talks about feeling his heartbeat, and she kept pulling more, and he wouldn't die. And, I just wanted him, and I was like, damn. Right? She admits even that Shad's struggling in this moment, that he's fighting back, right? You heard from Dr. Tranquita as well about how it looked like at one point there were signs of that, where the collar slipped up along the tongue. She's telling you, I was waiting for him to die. I liked it.
Prosecutors also introduced Taylor's phone search history from the days surrounding the killing. Dozens of searches related to Wisconsin's most notorious convicted serial killer. along with a selfie taken with his image on her screen just days before Shad's death.
And when you were reviewing the phone itself, the extraction of the phone itself on March 2nd of 2022, did you note any searches related to Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yes.
Was there one? Was there more than one? How many?
24 total searches, such things like Jeffrey Dahmer, Jeff Boyardee, Jeffrey Dahmer's butt, Jeffrey Dahmer walking into court all sexy. She's got a cell phone next to her head. There's a picture of Jeffrey Dahmer on the screen of the cell phone, and she's taking a selfie with it and smiling like they're taking a selfie together.
And what is the date of that photograph?
That was February 12th, 2022.
The defense argued this evidence was inflammatory and prejudicial. The judge allowed it anyway, and jurors were left to decide what, if anything, that pattern of searches meant about intent versus fixation.
Prosecutors say she had a twisted fascination with the state's most prolific serial killer.
Did you note any searches related to
Taylor's
Jeffrey Dahmer?
defense strategy rested on a not guilty by reason of insanity plea, which under Wisconsin law meant admitting to the underlying conduct while arguing she lacked the capacity to understand its wrongfulness at the time. Competency hearings stretched across more than a year, complicated by an incident in which Taylor allegedly threw a chair at an evaluating psychologist during a session, a moment expert witnesses on both sides interpreted in starkly different ways. One called it evidence of genuine psychotic breakdown.
In the July pretrial hearing, where Taylor allegedly threw a chair at her.
My opinion is that she qualifies for the not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. My opinions are that she was not responsible because of a mental disease. She wasn't responsible for the criminal conduct because at the time of the event, she had the mental disease, and it both affected, she lacked substantial capacity to both appreciate the wrongfulness of her conduct at the time the homicide occurred, but also she could not she couldn't conform. She lacked volitional control. She couldn't conform her conduct to the requirements of law. She was lacking in her ability to control herself. Based on my experience and training, that's a psychotic person.
The other
right there.
called her composed recovery immediately afterward inconsistent with a true loss of control. The trial court ultimately found her competent to proceed twice over defense objection. The jury needed less than an hour to convict her on all three counts: first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault. In the case's second phase, the same jury needed roughly the same amount of time to reject her insanity defense outright, finding that her documented methamphetamine use during the killing made it functionally impossible to separate genuine mental illness from voluntary intoxication.
Crimes were committed. Did the defendant have a mental disease or mental defect? Answer, no. There's no answer then for question 2. It is dated this date, July 27, 2023, signed by the foreperson. There were no dissenting jurors.
At sentencing, the courtroom heard two irreconcilable responses from Shad's family. One relative told her directly that he hoped she would meet the same fate as the killer she'd
Back
idolized.
how they really feel about her, like Shad's Uncle Kelly.
Don't make no sense to me even to have the option of parole to come back and to gain someone's trust like that again. You know, because that is like the lowest thing a person can do. You know what I mean? I just don't understand that. And the biggest thing is, you know, like I said, you know, the help is free and it's there. You chose not to take, you know, I'm sure you knew you had a problem, you know. You can't blame it on childhood. You know, there's help out there. And if you take the path to go get the help, you wouldn't be in this situation right now. None of us would be in this situation. But to take the cowardly path that you did and to make other people suffer because you were suffering is pretty. So that name Taylor fit you well.
Shad's own father said the opposite, that he forgave her and that he believed she still had the capacity to become a better person.
Now, I'm not a praying man, but after Judge Walsh's sentences today, I will pray that you meet the same fate as your idealistic Jeffrey Dahmer. So have a good life.
But Chad's father, Michael Therion, shocks everyone with his statement.
Taylor, I just wanted to say that I forgive you for what you've done to my son. And yeah, you made a bad choice, and now you have to live with it. But you know, I'm gonna miss Shad. He was a wonderful child too. Growing up, just mild mannered and just happy, and I know you made a bad choice. And like I said, I forgive you, and I'm gonna ask the judge if he can, you know, if she can see the streets again sometime, you know. It may not be soon, but I believe everybody makes bad choices, and maybe not to the scale, but I think there's a lot of hope for you. I think, you know, you can make use of your time and be a better person, and do great things yet, you know. So it does no good for me to hate you, you know. I know you got a heart. I know you got a mind. I wish you no harm, and I hope things go well for you. That's all I got to say.
The judge sentenced her to life without the possibility of extended supervision on the homicide charge, plus additional consecutive years for mutilation and sexual assault.
On the judge.
This crime offends human decency, it offends human dignity, and it offends the human community. It really does. When someone loses their life needlessly, it's tragic. It really is. It's tragic for family and friends and community. When life is taken by from a person in the fashion that it was in this case, where the victim's remains are cut up and packaged in containers, it's difficult to identify a human nature in those activities. It really is. So the need to protect the public is an important factor the court needs to struggle with as well. And in light of what I've just indicated, I think it's plain that there is a need to protect the public in this case. As I said, this behavior seems so removed from the human community as to be unpredictable. It really is. And in a place where this kind of an offense, kind of actions, kind of a crime is possible, with no advanced warning signs, and absolutely anything is possible then. Where this kind of a thing is possible, absolutely anything is possible. And from that, the public needs protection. Sentenced as follows.
She remains incarcerated at Taichita Correctional Institution, where court records show she has since been involved in at least one additional violent incident and 2 more attorney withdrawals. "I love something so much that I kill it," said once to detectives, repeated once in that interrogation room. And now permanently on the public record of a Wisconsin courtroom attached to a case that still leaves one question unresolved for anyone who reads through the trial transcripts themselves, publicly available through the Brown County Circuit Court. How does a jury and a legal system draw a clean line between a mind destroyed by drugs and a mind that was never right to begin with? Read the competency hearing transcripts yourself and tell us in the comments where you draw that line. If this case affected you, like this video, share it, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next investigation.